Sorry about that brief cut. It wasn't my filming or anything, it was just something unrelated. Okay, so back to that. I think I was at the part where, yeah, I was gonna jump back to the boat thing for a real quick second. Abner follows Arnold, and he smells Eduardo, and he knows that something's weird because of how it bounced back to the place where Eduardo stayed. So he's like, peace, I'm out of here, I'm gonna go find some help. So he jumps ship, and we don't know that he's jumping ship. Like, we figure, where's Abner going? Like, wherever Abner's going, it's obviously important. So, he jumps ship, and we don't know what happens. And after Helga, tries to confess her love to Arnold, she gets really mad, and she rips up his picture, and tosses her locket and the photo in the river. But Brainy, being a nice guy, jumps in and gets all the pieces and saves it. So, which when I initially thought, when I saw that initially, before I saw Brainy jump in the river to get it, I was like, oh no, is La Sombra? Because at this point, I didn't know that La Sombra was the guy on Arnold's boat. I thought it was the guy that was in the big fancy boat. So, as most of us would assume. That I'm like, oh no, they're going to find the pieces and they're going to put it together and they're going to realize that Arnold's on the boat and blah blah blah, all of that stuff. But then you see Brainy jump and it's like, oh, okay, so that's not actually a thing. Okay. And I already touched on the locket. Not the locket, but the one that Eduardo La Sombra gave to Arnold. So, is there anything else that was important? Yeah, and it's like, La Sombra is not just like your everyday run-of-the-mill villain. Like, they actually made it really convincing that you don't know that it's him until he reveals himself. So he actually makes it really convincing, to Arnold at least, that he is actually the guy that he thinks is Arnold's parents' friends, when really he's not. And I love, before I hit back onto the rest of the plot, I love that they got a lot of the, like, OG character voices to come back, like the guy that played Arnold and Gerald and all of them actually came back to voice. I don't know exactly how many came back. They might have all came back. I don't know. But I love that a lot of the voice actors came back to voice this. And I like how Helga just lays it all out with her feelings, and I'll touch again on that towards the end. But, yeah. So, now that they're at this point, Arnold is in his own little cell, and everyone else is in their big cell because they're like, oh, well, we can't have, for whatever reason, they can't put Arnold in with the rest because, one, everyone's mad at him because of how he kept secrets from everyone and whatever, and how their boat crashed and all that stuff. But two, I think it's also just because of the fact that La Sombra wants to use Arnold to get to the Corazon, or the heart of the Great-Eyed People. So, but Helga overhears Arnold talking to a photo of his parents and being, like, really sad, like, saying, bye mom, bye dad, I tried to figure out what happened to you and all that. And since Helga overheard it, being the actually nice person that she is when she hides it under her I hate everyone facade, she goes to Phoebe and Gerald, and she's basically like, yeah, I know, we're mad at Arnold right now, but how can we help him? Like, we need to get him out and help him. So Phoebe's like, okay, you two are gonna go break Arnold out, and I will devise a plan here and get everyone here to be like a distraction so we can get you guys out, and then we'll just, you know, kind of go about our day and make it see, because they all obviously couldn't leave, because then they would know something's up. So as long as they could just get, like, Arnold and Gerald and Helga out, then, you know, that's fine, because, one, it's because the plot needs them to, and two, they can't get everyone out. So they devise it to where they get Helga and Gerald over to Arnold's jail cell, and they're like, hey, we're busting you out, and they get the key, they get out, and then they get out of the compound, and then they make their way up to the part of the map that Arnold's like, hey, I have this journal and it has a map in it, and they set off. Sorry about that. And then in this time, we also know that Lysander put a tracking device in Arnold's necklace, like on the string that ties it together. And he's like, oh, I planned for this. Like, I have all my contingencies in order to where I wanted Arnold to basically escape, because the green-eyed people wouldn't see me and him together. They would have to come out for just him. So his plan was going accordingly, as you would say. So him and a group of his thugs go and trail Arnold, and Arnold and them come up to the path to the green-eyed people's, like, entrance, but Helga goes to step on something and realizes that it's a booby trap, and at that time, Arnold's, like, necklace thing starts glowing, and they're like, oh, if you lay it on the puzzle, on the thing, it tells you what pieces to step on. So they're, like, going through and they're avoiding it, but when Lysander and his men come, they kind of just run across it, and one of the guys gets shot with arrows, because they obviously are impatient. And then they come to the next one, and they defeat that challenge, and whatever, and same with Lysander's men. I'm trying to keep this short, but I really just want to recap the whole thing, so it's like, you know, it is what it is. So then they get to the entrance, and they're like, okay, how do we get in here now? We're supposed to look for, like, this eyeball thing, and Arnold and Helga are arguing about it, and Gerald's uncovering it, and he's like, did you say something about an eyeball? So they push the buttons, and they get in, and then they're like, now what? And Gerald sits down for a sec to go, like, check something in his shoe, maybe for a rock or something, and he ends up falling through the leaves that are covered there, which is actually the entrance to the green-eyed people's, like, I guess you could say habitat, living place, whatever you want to call it, yeah. So then, the little, like, guards, which we then later find out that it's all just the kids, because apparently all the parents are the only ones that were infected, so I'm guessing after, the initial round of the medication for the sleeping sickness, Arnold's parents did the kids first and didn't have enough to do the parents, so that's kind of probably how it all plays out. But they all recognize Arnold, and they're like, Arnold. Like, they just keep saying his name, and they treat him like royalty, because they're like, oh my god, the prophesied son is back to come help save the day, and yada yada. And still at this time, Lysander's following them, and then things are just, like, back at the base. Phoebe is trying to figure out a way to send for help. So she's like, do we still have those beepers? And they're like, but beepers only go one way. They only receive messages. And she's like, well, not if I take Rhonda's phone and I hack it and I do all this tech stuff, because Phoebe's amazing. And she makes it so it sends an SOS out to Bob. And Bob is like, oh no, Olga and the other one are in trouble. Whereas at the same time, we then see Abner, how he miraculously got back to Arnold's grandma and grandpa, and tell him about the same thing about Lysander. So then they're like, okay, we gotta go save Arnold, as are Helga's parents gonna go save Helga and Olga. So then they meet up at the airport, they get on a plane, and they fly at the same time that Phoebe had also devised a plan to break all of them out of the prison and lock up the other guys safely so that they could just escape and probably go find Arnold, I'm sure. So, but then they get out, and then they go to open the main gate to get out, and then there's like this big guy there. But lo and behold, because the plot deems it worthy, the parents and the grandparents come down and they help save the day. And then we kind of don't figure out what happens to them, but I assume that they go and search for Arnold. Or they go back to the mainland. I don't know. They don't really touch on that after. But getting back to the Arnold plot of it all, they're like, yeah, you need to open this thing to, like, save our parents, but he doesn't understand them because he doesn't speak the native language, obviously. So then Lasombra comes in, and he's like, yeah, I'm here to take your heart, and, you know, everything. And he's like, oh, and since it's just a bunch of kids, I can actually bring the people here and sell them the things, like, make it like a park, like a theme park, I'm sure. And the head, I'm assuming the chief's daughter, princess, whatever you want to call her, she's like, oh, hell no. So she pulls this little dagger out of her sleeve, and she, like, stabs him in the shoulder, and he's like, what? So he goes to attack her, but all of her, like, little, I'm assuming the guards of the camp, kind of just, like, start tackling him, and Helga and Arnold and Gerald are helping, and Arnold grabs the bag, because Lasombra had stolen the case with the heart in it, and Arnold's like, so he takes it, and then he's like, well, I'm just gonna take you and the heart then, and Arnold's like, no. So, once that's happening, Phoebe and Gerald, or Helga and Gerald, are obviously not too far behind, so they just kind of, like, follow behind him to help save Arnold, even though, you know, they're probably still a little mad at him, or they've kind of, like, you know, forgiven him at this point, because, you know, you can't say mad at Arnold, he's a nice guy. So, so they go about this rickety bridge, which I would never walk on, because it's like, that's not safe. So, Arnold and Lasombra get across first, and he's about to cut the line, as Gerald and Helga are halfway across, and Arnold's like, no, go back! And just then, the rope breaks, and they go and do one of those stereotypical things where the bridge is just, like, hanging from the one side, and they're like, trying to climb up, and they're kind of just hanging out, and Arnold's like, you need to help my friends first. He's like, no, you need to get me this heart, and then we'll pull your friends up. So Arnold uses the locket again because it lights up, and he uses it to, like, figure out what buttons to push to open it up, and we're just, like, sitting there staring at the gold heart, or the Corazon as they keep calling it, and then Lasombra tries to go in and reach it, but a little dart comes out and shoots him in the head, and he, like, falls off to the edge, and we think that he's dead. And then I think Arnold, I can't remember exactly if Arnold tumbles over or it's just him trying to get to them, but he ends up on the falling down part of the bridge too. And as they're all there, like, Helga's on Gerald's back, and Arnold's kind of looking at her, like, they're kind of, like, saying, like, I love you, like, their I love yous, like, sort of thing, just by the look in their faces. We see a rope dangle down, and they look up, and it's actually the real Eduardo. And he's like, come on, grab the rope, I'll pull you up, and he, like, kind of explains himself, and she's like, how do we know that you're the real Eduardo? Like, we've already been through this. And he's like, well, you can feel free to climb back down, which I think is funny and really sassy. Like, you don't want to believe me, that's fine. You can climb back down. So what? So, Eduardo's just, like, explaining, like, yeah, they kidnapped me, they took my boat, so I had to get another boat with a crew to come save you. And you thought, and they're like, oh, we thought you were the pirate. And he's like, no, I was trying to come save you. Like, that sort of thing. And they explain the whole thing, and then they kind of pan to the rope, and we see the rope, like, pulling down. So we know that Lasombra's not dead, so he must have caught on to something. And the rope must have been long enough that he could climb back up. So he climbs back up, and him and Eduardo get into a little bit of a scuffle, and Lasombra falls and dies. Basically. But he also takes the heart with him, unfortunately. Sad day. And my initial thought was, okay, now they're going to have to climb down there and get the heart. Because, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. You're like, oh my god, the heart's, like, gone. What are they going to do? So then they make their way back to the green-eyed people, and they show him Arnold's parents, who we find out have been under the sleeping sickness for about 9 years, which is unfortunate. But now we finally have the answer of what happened to Arnold's parents. That they didn't die, they were just under the sleeping sickness, because they must have contacted it after they made their medicine and didn't get a chance to put the heart in the thing. And as they're talking to the chiefess and the chief's daughter. I don't know the proper word for the chief's daughter, so we're just gonna call her the chief's daughter. And since Eduardo's there now, he can translate for them, and he basically says, like, yeah, the heart went over the cliff, and we don't have it, and all the kids get really sad, and then Helga sees that, because, you know, she sees that her love is, like, upset too, because obviously he can't save his parents without that heart, and she's like, she pulls out her locket, and she's like, well, I have this heart, it's not gold, and it's probably not pure, but, you know, it might work, and Arnold's like, yeah, that would work, like, it's probably purer than you think, and she gets all like, like, so sappy about it, and everything, and they put the heart in the thing, but Arnold didn't obviously put it in right. He's like trying to fiddle with it and get it in right, and she's like, oh, you football head, and she like turns it to the right way, and it goes in, and then it distributes the medicine, and lo and behold, everyone wakes up, including Arnold's parents, and it was so touching and sad. I had tears the first time I watched it, and it was so sappy, and I'm just like, yay, because Arnold's parents were saved, and then they kind of like talk for a few minutes, and they have that celebration, and then they kind of see Helga shirk away, and it's like, what are you up to? And we see her trying to take her heart back out of the little thing there, and Arnold comes up to her and has like a heart, and he's like, I know you were trying to tell me something important earlier, and he basically confesses his love towards Helga too, and then the little heart pops out of the thing, and it was really funny, and then they kiss, and then Gerald, being a creeper, comes up and he's like, like, I saw that coming, but now I've seen everything, and Arnold's parents are like right there too, so it's like, that's awkward. And then it kind of just cuts to black after that, and it goes to the next scene of Arnold waking up, and he thinks it, and at this point it's like, oh, the first time I saw this, I'm like, oh dear sweet God, this better not have been a dream, because I will go and find them, and I will write them angry words. But, no. Arnold wakes up, he goes downstairs, and it seems like the same beginning from like, like, the last day of school, where, Arnold's, grandpa's there, and then the three main tenants that they have are still being the same mean, idiotic people that they are, and I mean that in a nice way, I don't mean that in like a negative way. And then we see Granny there, and Arnold's getting sad because his parents aren't sitting at the table. Like, he's like, oh no, maybe it was just a dream, maybe I just dreamt it. And then his parents come out with like eggs and toast and bacon and all that good stuff, and he's like, oh my God, it wasn't a dream. And he goes up to his parents, and he's like, his dad's like, you had that dream again, didn't you, where you thought that you didn't save us, but you did, and we're here now. And his mom's like, oh, let's just go on an adventure today to the botanical garden because they have a rainforest exhibit. And Arnold's like, well, I can't, I have school. So he heads off to school, and he meets up with Helga and Phoebe on the way, and Gerald and Phoebe are now officially a couple, so they hold hands and they walk down the road. And Arnold tries to do the same with Helga, but obviously Helga, being the person that she is, she's like, I didn't say you could touch me, but we all know how they really feel about each other. Yeah. And then at this point, Arnold's parents come up, and they want to walk him to school because obviously they already miss him, and they hadn't seen him in 9 years. Which, also, when they first wake up and they say, hey Arnold, I'm just like, my heart burst, because I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute. So, they walk him to school, and they're like, what time do you get out of school? He's like, 3:30, and they're like, oh, we'll just wait here. So I'm pretty sure they just waited on the steps for like 8 hours while Arnold went to school, just so that they could see him when they get out, and it was really cute. And that ended the show, and it was great. The animation was great. Like, I loved how they did like the original stuff, but then for certain scenes it seemed like really like modern. So it kind of threw me off for a sec. Like, that's probably one of the only negatives. Like, it was really great animation, like, when they were opening things. But it was, like, or, like, when the medicine was being dispersed. But then it was, like, one of those where it was, it just looked too modern of an art style sort of thing. But other than that, the story was great. I love that it tied up all the loose ends about Arnold and his parents and that he got his parents back. And it was great. And it hit that... like I said at the beginning, it hit that nostalgia bone for all of us 90s kids. And I know this video is really long and I apologize, but I figured it's an easy way to wrap it up, and I'm not the best with editing, so I'm basically just doing this in one take. So, and I love that they just tied up all the loose ends with a bow and everything. Like, Arnold got his happy ending, and we got to see how it played out with his parents and everything. And Helga, in a way, is the true MVP. Like, you know, you expect Arnold to be the protagonist and everything because it's his movie, but in a way, Helga is the MVP because even though she wisecracks with Arnold all the time and is really like a bully to him at some points, she sees that he's sad, and she tries to help Arnold by saying, "Hey, I'm here if you want to talk," but she always seems to get interrupted by something or other. And then it's like when he's down, like even when he's in the jail cell and she hears him talking to his parents' picture, she gets really sad and she's like, well, we need to help him. But then when she figures out the thing with the locket, like, oh, saying maybe my locket will fit. That's using your brain, girl. Helga's smarter than she looks. And it's great. And I'm just going to sum it up with that. And you got my initial video with my initial thoughts and everything. This was the spoiler one that I promised you guys. So I'm gonna get these two little snippets posted because I had to pause there for a sec because I have a cold, as if you can't tell from all the sniffling and the coughing and the hot mess that I am right now. So if you liked it, hit that thumbs up button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't. Feel free to leave comments, but only constructive ones, because let's try not to be negative, because there's too much negativity in this world. And I hope that if you haven't seen the movie, that you do, because what's in my brain that I just spewed out to you for like this 40 minutes or whatever, however long this video is. I might post it in 2 videos just so it's not so long. But yeah, feel free to leave comments and let's be nice. Yeah, I guess that's it for me. So I'll try and post more videos, maybe do some more reviews and things. Like I said in the other video, I really don't know what I post. I kind of just post on this page sporadically. I have another YouTube page that I'm trying to figure out how I want to go about doing those videos. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.